A Twitch stream here, Adam. Bing, bing. Hey, thanks, Rusty Jockford, for the 2 cents.
2 cents. All right, cool.
Microtransaction. Ding. Yeah, okay, ready?
Yep.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, Zen Plus rumors, Core i5 faster than Core i7, and DXR. Welcome to The Full Nerd, episode 44, recorded on March 28th, 2018. I almost said it was 2015. I'm Gordon Mong with co-host Brad Charkis.
I can't believe it's the end of March already.
It's insane, isn't it? Already the end of March. And, of course, Adam Patrick Murray.
Well, don't forget our special guest.
And our special guest is Mona. That actually has a name.
Hi, Mona.
Is a mannequin that has been kicking around the office forever. It's... I think it's used basically to make fun of me, usually, and to scare people.
It's something you don't understand is Mona is a hardcore gamer. She loves the Asus ROG Zephyrus.
She is, yes. She's our...
she's our resident hardcore laptop gamer.
No IGP for her.
Nope, not at all.
It's all about
she needs discreet. Yeah.
High-end graphics, yes.
And she has a lot to say, but then again, she's also under embargo for a lot of stuff, so she's going to be tight-lipped the show.
She knows all the secrets, so she won't be saying nothing.
Yeah, sorry.
Wouldn't you be creeped out though if like there was one of those little voice circuits in this thing?
Oh no, yes, I know.
And it just says something one day.
I should.
Mommy.
I should just bring up the Gordon soundboard and pretend that's our special guest is you.
You would have to auto tune it though. Our normal guests are not here, so we do have Mona here. Elena should be back soon. She's working on something cool. It's coming
Very
up.
cool.
Can't
Very
talk about it. Total secret. It's coming around soon though.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm intrigued. I don't even know what she's working on.
Oh, you don't even know.
Yeah, Brad doesn't know.
Uh-oh.
Doesn't know. It's cool stuff. We're going to talk about it next week, hopefully. If we, I think I forget when all the secret stuff kind of expires, so that will be coming up.
Definitely.
But I want to get into our first thing because we are on a clock.
Yes.
On a clock. We're going to try to get in and out.
Let's do it.
Not waste your time. Zen Plus rumors, which is crazy. I mean, although I see now inside journalism joke, I was like, oh, well, this is a review, right? Because this is a full review that we could talk about. So you're going to say, oh, Zen Plus review, but it is not. Apparently, Canard PC, which is a French hardware magazine, has published benchmarks and what they're calling, as I understand it, a review of the Ryzen 7 2700X.
Yep. It's important to note also that before the first generation of Ryzen came out, Canard PC broke a lot of news about it. So that turned out to be accurate. So it seems like they have some pretty good sources in place.
Yeah. And just for the details, from what I understand, I'm reading Tech Power Ups. Got to give them credit. They're reading their write-up of it, but they tested a Ryzen 7 2700X on... Oh, shoot.
Which I don't think AMD is not officially confirmed part names or anything like that. So this is all firmly in the rumor territory.
No, we do know. I think the only thing we know is it's called Pinnacle Ridge, right? That's confirmed.
I call it Zen Plus.
Okay, Zen Plus. I call it Zen Plus, but apparently it's Pinnacle Ridge. It's, of course, the follow-up. They did talk about it at CES to the original Zen. Canard PC, one little bit of a controversy with this is they tested it on an A320 chipset.
Yeah, I saw that. They used the current motherboards.
So a lot of people looking at the benchmarks got a little upset. They're like, this is, X470 or X370 motherboard at least, right? Why are you using this consumer chipset? Do you guys think there's any issue with that?
I think it could skew results, assuming that this is a legit 2700X chip. I think that, not using the chipset that's designed for Zen Plus could potentially leave some performance off the board. But, I mean, if they're getting early chips from inside sources, I'm not surprised they weren't able to get an X470 board whatsoever.
Yeah, and I'm with Brad. The problem with it not being a blessed review, which is, and when you do a review of a CPU, usually they'll say use this motherboard from this vendor, or we'll send you the motherboard, and definitely make sure you have the X BIOS and you have to have this. There's a lot of switches you really got to throw to get everything to be set correctly, and even then, sometimes things don't go right.
Is that partly them trying to control the message, or is that because they want you to get the best experience? Can you go into that a little bit? Why?
Well, so the example, of course, was the kerfuffle that came up after the Coffee Lake reviews came out. The Core i7 8700K review came out. Somebody did a video where it was Adore TV that did videos like, whoa, what's up with these benchmarks that were all over the map here? Was someone cheating? Of course, it was a direct allegation, I think, actually, that somebody was cheating. And I got to say, so in my test, when I started testing Coffee Lake, what I always do is like, okay, I need sanity check numbers. So you give me a few numbers, I run those benchmarks. If my numbers don't match what you're getting, what you're saying this chip is supposed to perform, either I'm doing something wrong or something is wrong with the product, right? So it's a back and forth with the vendor to make sure at least you're on the right starting line. So I did that. My numbers were still a little depressed over what they had. I went through several BIOS updates from the motherboard vendor, in fact. I think a lot of other reviewers, they got the thing, they just had to run. And, I don't ascribe to the Coffee Lake that there was truly a conspiracy to make it look bad. Because last year was insane, right? People got to remember last year, everybody reviewed like 10 CPUs where you might review 1 2 years ago or two of them. Now you're doing 10 reviews. You've got all this other stuff. People were just worn out. So I think, it's always best to make sure that your numbers match, some calibration numbers when you're doing a CPU review. And then
people like to think that reviewer guides are a conspiracy, like them telling you to do this. No, it's, them obviously using software and games that puts their product in the best light, but really it's there for sanity check numbers for reviewers. That's what a reviewer's guide is. So we have a baseline to measure against.
Yeah. And then, and of course, as a reviewer, you go like, because they will often say, we want you to test with this. It's like, yeah, we know why you want us to test with that, because that makes you look better, right? And you may test with it and say, hey, it is good, and the reason why it's good is this is optimized for them, or they've worked with them. They're, who knows. But for this, it looks like Canard PC, it wasn't a sanctioned part, obviously, because these are not official parts. So it does make you kind of wonder.
Not even officially announced parts.
They haven't officially announced parts, so it does make you sort of question the results, although they don't look bad. Let me throw this out here. They're looking, 14%? So we're saying the 1800X, it's about 14% faster. So the 2700X, if it's real, is about 14% faster than the 1800X, right?
That's in a series of calculation benchmarks, like encoding, Blender, POV Ray. The way Canard PC did it is ran a bunch of tests and then just kind of average it all together.
Oh, okay.
And that overall average is 14%. And those multi-core kind of things.
Yeah, that even that style of doing benchmarks is a little. I understand why everybody wants this, because people want one number, right? It's like star reviews. You want a 4-star movie. You don't want to waste $20 on a 2-star movie, right, or 3-star movie. So I'm not sure I really agree with that. I think for people who want depth, I would rather have them say better at multi-threading, better for single threading, better cost, better for power, all these kind of different metrics. But I got to say, the one thing that, of course, throws a wrench in all this is as to whether it's official or not, is Canard PC is a print magazine. So most people, like, what's that? I don't know what that.
Hold on, what is this print thing?
Where do you get that? Yeah. Well, I can tell you as a former print magazine reviewer, you are extremely under the gun, because you have to have your reviews done weeks ahead of everybody else, sometimes a month ahead, depending on their print deadlines. It is entirely possible this is a real legitimate review, that they got a part sanctioned by probably a supplier in France from AMD. Say, we know you got to hit your deadline. We don't know when these parts are coming out. Been a lot of rumors, but I know they said first quarter, right? So yeah, it's entirely possible these are real results, not conspiracy results, because they were given an early part to make their print deadline too. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
How often does that happen, though?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Just how often does that happen? That a print magazine's able to get something that early and that it breaks?
Well, I can say in the early 2000s all the time, right?
Lately, yeah.
Lately, though, I don't know. But, it depends on who it is. I got to say, I have run into reviews where like, oh, well, you'll get it when everybody else gets it. And even if you're a print magazine or in print, it generally like you'll get it when everybody gets it. Oh, Wall Street Journal. Yeah, we're going to send that to you 2 months ahead of everybody because you're the Wall Street Journal. So you do get preference for publication, right? High profile Wall Street Journal. They got the XPS 15 months before everybody did, it felt like. So it does happen. It does happen.
Yeah.
I think it's worth pointing out as well, in addition to the 14% faster compared to the 1800X in those, productivity-ish creation kind of things.
Yeah.
It also was about 4 to 5% faster in a suite of games. But in order to do so, it uses about 13 watts more power than the 1800X. So just a couple more numbers from their review.
Yeah, and I kind of wish I could read French, but I mean, it looks like they're getting very decent boost clocks out of it too. Whereas, so they have one chart where they did a single threaded load. I don't know what they used to load it up, but on one thread, it's about 4 gigahertz for 1800X. For 2 threads, 3.7 is 1800X, and basically everything else is 3.7. So stock 1800X, 4 gigahertz on a single thread load, and everything else at 3.7. Although there's a comma for some reason, not a period, but that's a joke. But the Ryzen 7 2700X, according to Canard PC's, review or preview, or we don't know, with SMT off, one core, they were seeing 4.3, and then
SMT off,
and then for 2 cores, 4.17, 4.2, right? 3 cores, 4.1, 4 cores, 4, 5 cores, 4, 4, 5, whatever, 4. And then 6 cores, 4. And then, all the way out to 8 cores, they were getting 3.9, whereas, 1800X, let's all be honest, it was pretty much 3.7 once you got past one thread, right? So
Yep. And at the tippy top, you were hoping to get 4 gigahertz, like on a single core kind of a deal when you're overclocking. So
right. So it could be, if there's anything to be taken out of this, is like it could be a decent part, right? I mean, a very.
I don't like SMT off, which is their version of multi-threading, simultaneous multi-threading, because I know that yes, it's the same with Intel chips that can theoretically boost performance, but in the real world, I don't think anybody does that. So.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Idle powers were about the same. So definitely. So the 2700X at full load was about 142 watts, and 1800X on their measurements, assuming I'm going to guess everything is the same, about 129 watts. So definitely consuming more power.
Yep.
Under load.
It looks like if that's all legit, I mean, that seems like a pretty solid iterative upgrade to me.
Doesn't that
14% faster?
Doesn't that already sort of follow what we've been seeing too? I mean, decent, very decent single threaded, increase, and then also, a decent multi-core, right? That's kind of like in line with what everybody's been saying, right?
Is there any indication of pricing in there? Are prices going to move?
I don't see anything here. So of course,
I wouldn't be surprised if prices get reset to the original Ryzen levels, because right now they're selling at like rock bottom prices as they're clearing stock. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a 2700X and it's basically the successor to the 1800X. It'll launch at $500, just like the 1800X did.
Yeah, it's a different world, though. I got to say, I don't know. I do wonder, because I mean, it's a different world. We have Coffee
It'll
Lake
be up
here.
there. I would be shocked if it was under 450.
Really?
I'd say. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna play that. We're gonna play that game.
The pricing game.
I think,
always fun.
I gotta say, I would expect MSRP on 1700X or 2700X Zen Plus. Boy, yeah, that's tough. 450, I would think. I would think it'd be a little, 430 kind of a range. I would think. Mm-hmm. This 500 seems kind of steep, especially with Threadripper. Not that far away for core count.
Yeah.
And then,
right.
clearly Intel is, hey, Intel's back in the game too. So who knows what Intel has coming?
Yeah. What's the 8700K selling for these days? 360-ish?
It has not gotten the prices have not gotten great. Like 350, I think maybe. If you're 330 if you're lucky, but that's really rare. It's like about a 350 to 360 most places. Okay. And it's actually selling really well too. So as much as a lot of AMD fans would be pissed off over that, but it is selling really well. I can say that, right?
So, Dragon Kurt on Twitch is wondering if the first gen Ryzen chips, how much cheaper they'll go because they're already so rock bottom.
We're seeing great deals on them already.
Yeah, right.
They're already this month. They brought them down to I think it was $330 for the 1800X.
Oh, wow!
Which is 8 cores, 16 threads.
Oh,
for $330. That's ridiculous. If you're looking to get on chips, I would say get on those now. Don't expect Zen Plus to launch at those prices. The other day we were looking around and we found the Ryzen 5 1600, which is 6 cores, 12 threads, and that was on sale for $130.
Oh my God, that is just so good, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I almost feel like I should jump on that because I really need to rebuild my system. Oh man.
I mean, that's like
tempting.
That's like locked Core i5, no HT at that price. If you're lucky, right? Those are usually Core i5, whatever the quad core is usually 180-ish. It's really tough to get an Intel with more than a dual core for that price range. So God, that's just insane. That's just crazy good. But
now we're seeing sales, and we're generally seeing they dropped the prices at CES. So they dropped the prices already. This month they dropped prices even more. If you keep an eye out for one-day flash sales, I mean, there's a good chance you'll see things like this 1600 right now. So if you're shopping around, now is a good time to be looking for a Ryzen chip.
Yeah, Rusty said he saw the 1600 a couple days ago for 149.
That's just like impulse buy.
Yeah,
right? It's just being a blister pack as you check out of the store. Give me some of that Eclipse gum, and I'll take that Ryzen 5 1600 for 130 to 150 for 6-core with SMT.
Well, and Jacob Flores on YouTube says he paid 150 for his FX 8350.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Still some FX fans out there. But let me tell you, it's time to abandon that platform. That's just like the water is basically, you're like standing on the prow of that ship as it's going under. It's time to
I can still get the job done if you're not doing crazy stuff, but it's about time.
I know, but when you're looking at a Ryzen 5 1600 for $130, it's like you need to you don't want to go down with the ship here, like on Reddit, like it's still better for the money. No, it's really not a great.
Whenever we see crazy deals like that, by the way, we try to cover them on PC World when we see crazy awesome deals. So stay tuned to PC World and we'll shout whenever we see something awesome like that. We shouted that one out the other day.
Definitely.
You know what I want to note though is like, because this really always brings up so classic Intel is like, I'm going to pick up a Core Ice, a Kaby Lake quad core. I'm going to get that, right now the 330, once they start coming out with Coffee Lake, I'm going to pick that up for like $150. Like, hell no, that never happened.
Yeah.
Intel's like, no, they're all gone. Vanished. Every single one of them, right?
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I mean, Intel is really good at, I don't know whether they just tell everybody to take the stuff off the shelves so they can get higher ASPs, which is a higher price. Or would they just manage the supply chain so well that like there ain't none left? There's like all the quad core Kaby Lakes are very hard to find at this point, and it's a little
bit different now.
Yeah,
this generation, like we've seen, like the other day there was a 7700K. It was like $40 off, which is pretty solid. I wonder if they're changing tactics a little bit this generation because they upped the core count.
Yeah, it could be that. And then also yield. Like I know in the old days, they would sometimes roll stuff in slowly and they'd keep the older product around because it's like we're still making these other ones. So, and again, they haven't introduced much, right? So as far as Coffee Lake goes. So, but I wonder if AMD is going to just have an 1800X just kind of like flop around in the inventory. Like you can still buy this thing in 6 months or 12 months or whether it's just like, no, you need to move on.
So
no sooner than later, because if it's due in the first quarter or April, basically. So next month, hopefully, we'll hear more about it officially.
So real quick, to go back to Jacob Flores on YouTube, he says he wants to clarify that this was in 2013 that he got that FX part.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
he
did not get it recently.
Yeah, that was a different day, right? That was like Sandy Bridge days. So no, 2013 would have been. Oh gosh,
my mind's not mathing that well.
Yeah, it's not really. It definitely would have been Ivy Bridge, Haswell. That was Haswell days. Kind of like Haswell, right? So, yeah, I mean for the cost, FX. I mean for what it is. Yeah, it's better than an Atom. but you know.
Yeah, well.
Let me see. Is there anything else from the PC review? No, not really. I mean,
I think we hit the high points.
we hit
Yeah.
the high points. I mean, you know, we'll see, right? We still got to wait. Everybody knows it's coming. They talked about it at CES, so we'll wait. We'll wait
Nice.
for news.
Yeah.
You'll read about it here, and hopefully we'll have a review when it's, you know, when everybody's ready. So
Yeah. Hot take, right?
hot take.
Before we move to the next segment, I want to say that the Full Nerd is sponsored by PC World now on Twitch.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
go
that's
to
nice.
twitch.tv/PC World US. Not only are we streaming the Full Nerd there, but we're also playing video games. 2 days ago, Dan and I played Far Cry 5 before it came out. That was pretty fun. So yeah, if you like your nice streaming content, go over to twitch.tv/PC World. Now back to the show.
And now back to thank you for bringing us from the PC World Twitch show. Needs a jingle, Adam.
Yeah, I
Needs a
know,
jingle.
right? I need some music or something.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you could like vary something. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
like dun 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 dun. I don't know.
No, too close.
Too close.
But
I'm not a musical copyright person, but at some point I'm sure it's like, too close to our.
speaking of Intel,
Speaking of Intel, and you know, this is a
Yeah.
little bit different for us, but I do think it's worth bringing up because I gotta say, the results I'm seeing, and I just finished reviewing this. If you go to PCWorld.com, you can read a review of this beautiful, and I do say beautiful because it is an XPS for audio listeners, XPS 13. New XPS 13, white deck lid, improved keyboard. Frankly, I don't know why anybody else caught on to that, but I think keyboard's definitely better for my fingers. 8th gen I can call it Coffee Lake, 8th gen Kaby Lake R, and I compared it to the previous generation, previous design XPS 13, which I'm going to open up for our video listeners, video watchers, and it's the older design that's been kicking around since the Broadwell designs. They probably put so Broadwell, Skylake, Kaby Lake.
I'd say it's still nice.
So they got 4 designs
yeah.
out of this chassis. I mean, it really was a trend-setting chassis. Got you the bezel-less look and all that. I love this thing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
awesome
It's so
awesome.
small and it looks like all screen. I've never actually touched one of those.
Oh,
But
they're
that's
just
a
wonderful.
pretty laptop.
Yeah,
And the
and it still has Type A ports,
And it still has
right?
a Type A port, which
Yeah.
of course is that's one problem. The new XPS 13 design does not have a Type A, big bummer. But for performance freaks, I gotta say it's really interesting. So both of these laptops have an 8th gen Kaby Lake R. One has a Core i7 8550U. The other one has a Core i5 8520U, I believe. I can't remember the exact model number. Basically, Core i5. And it's interesting, unlike desktop where it's like, oh, Core i5, you lose hyperthreading. On laptops, there's no difference. It's like this is a quad-core hyper-threaded chip in mobile, or in Core i7, Core i5, quad-core hyper-threaded chip. I mean, they're
So what's the
basically
difference?
one's Core i7, one's Core i5, Brad.
Oh,
So
okay.
but the main
makes
difference
sense.
has been traditionally Core i7 in a laptop gets you higher turbo speeds.
Okay.
So they just basically say maybe it's like, hey, maybe these are better bin parts. We're gonna let you hit higher speeds of them. So you get you get a few hundred megahertz higher speed out of Core i7 than you do out of Core i5. That's sort of been the traditional way that some of them that it's breaking down right now. In 8th gen though, it's really getting interesting, and that is because this white new XPS 13.
And it literally is called the new XPS.
It is
13,
literally,
kind
yes,
of like
uppercase
Apple.
N. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful looking. It's rose gold, I think, which looks actually gold, not rose to me, and then white on the deck lid. The difference is this Core i5, even though the Core i7 technically has higher clock speeds, and it does, the Core i5 will smoke that Core i7 and a lot of multi-threaded benchmarks. It's just
Wow.
isn't that crazy?
Nice.
What is it? Is it the cooling? Is it thinner?
It is.
What?
Yeah, it's the cooling. So Dell made
Yeah.
a big deal. Says, hey, we're going to put 2 fans in this, 2 heat pipes. The previous design, which, got to admit, hey, it's designed in Broadwell days, right? So for a dual core hyper-threaded chip. 1 heat pipe, 1 fan. Now they're basically almost doubling, the cooling. Probably not, but you're definitely getting more cooling. So now they're just they're pushing the clocks way up. And like, so I ran XTU on the new XPS and the old XPS. Reminder, both of them 8th gen Kaby Lake Rs. And for the most part, the new one, most of the time under a stress test was like, 3.3 to 3.0. And after a few minutes, the previous design with an 8th gen Core i7 Kaby Lake R was 2.4 to 2.8. So
wow.
Maybe 2.9 sometimes. You were just like, depending, and you were just like, it just runs at a higher clock all the time.
Wow.
Both of these are, by the way, updated for Spectre Meltdown. So these are post, this isn't some weird thing like, oh, well, the old one didn't have, no, they're both completely updated for Spectre Meltdown. Mm-hmm. But Core i5 in this configuration is faster because it has better cooling than the Core i7 with, somewhat worse cooling. And just for some context, the previous XPS 13, it was a fast laptop. It wasn't like a slug. It was the previous 8th gen Kaby Lake R was fast. It blew away Kaby Lake chips, the dual cores and everything. It was a very fast laptop, and compared to a lot of other, similar size laptops, a lot of convertibles, it is definitely the fastest, probably the fastest, if not among the fastest. It is a fast laptop. But
it's been our favorite for a good long while now, right?
Yeah, it's a great.
Oh yeah,
for a clamshell laptop, it is really hard to beat unless you do maybe you are doing a what's that show they do over at Engadget? If you do like if you're doing a web app for people where they pay you money, the webcam's not good for you. But
real quick, you're talking about the updated cooling. Does that mean it's able to run, at higher clocks, have a better cooling system, but the actual thermals are going to stay the same, or are you seeing like an actual dip in the heat coming off the laptop anyway?
Well, and I did actually measure the actual heat coming off the keyboard. Dell redesigned it. They were making this big deal like, oh, we put this Gore thermal material in it. And what it is, just a little strip of, super special Gore material from the Gore-Tex company, those guys.
From Gordon's company?
Yeah. And it helps redirect heat out of the laptop. And I will say it was definitely about 8 degrees cooler on the keyboard.
Really?
So
wow.
it does work. But I suppose, or maybe also you have 2 fans, 2 heat pipes. Sucking that air out of the.
But either way, what you're saying is it's cooler.
Yeah.
But also you're getting higher clocks
on the keyboard.
Did it get fatter?
No, so it's actually thinner. It is actually thinner. Like maybe a millimeter thinner. It's maybe 2 ounces lighter. It really is almost the same. It's a little bit lighter, but definitely. 8th gen Kaby Lake, and it's what I'm really interested in this Core Core 10 for other laptop designs, just how dependent it is on heat, right?
Yeah, right.
So like for one thing, in the previous generation XPS 13, I believe it's basically set up as a max, I think 25 watts. So you can, they have, it is a 15 watt part, but they basically boost the performance up to 25 watts for a few seconds, right? It's for X amount of time, and then it just sort of cranks down in speed as it gets hotter. The new XPS 13, it's like a 28 watt part, and I think, and technically they can both spike up to 51 watts, but probably we're probably talking milliseconds for that kind of power consumption. It's just faster, and it is a little bit louder. It definitely kicks the fans up sooner.
Well, if it has 2 fans,
it has 2 fans, but in theory, it should be quieter because you'll finish the load and then you go back to an idle state. So there's some argument for that, but it's definitely louder. There were times where I thought the older one, when you get it going, does get louder to me because it's a single fan trying to move all the heat out versus 2 fans and 2 heat pipes. So an advantage, but I do wonder, like as we haven't seen, next generation chips at the high end, right? So I kind of want, as we see Kaby Lake G and as well as any next generation parts, like these things are going to be really dependent on cooling, it feels like, because I'm blown away that Core i5 is faster than Core i7 in multi-threaded tasks. There's some things where it sort of evens out for really long runs, but generally it's just faster almost everything except for really light loads where the Core i7 lets you just kick the clocks up to 3.5.
And Core i5 rather than Core i7 probably save you a few $100 too, right? A couple $100 at least.
It does technically. In fact, they have this. This is the $1,200 new XPS with 8 gigs, 256, and they have a configuration that's $200 more. That has the same storage, same amount of RAM, but gives you a Core i7.
There you go.
So I'm like, I gotta say, is it worth it?
Yeah. I wonder how much, if they can do that with the Core i5, I'm wondering what it does with the Core i7.
Yeah, that's actually the interesting thing. If like, so this new XPS, and I generally say I don't think it's worth it for a lot of people because it's already so fast, but I haven't seen the part yet, and it'd be interesting to see like, wow, maybe this new XPS 13 is just like with the Core i7, like you're pushing 3.8 on those single-threaded loads. Who knows, right? I don't know. So very impressive, but again, this could sort of talk about what we're going to get out of gaming laptops if the ones with the best cooling are going to be faster, like much faster.
The past year has been so good for PC hardware across the board. Talking about this makes me so excited, and I don't even really care about laptops.
I like them. I mean, I love them when to use them for non-gaming purposes. So, and both these do have Thunderbolt. Oh, and the other big difference is previous model had Thunderbolt 3. I think it was a 2-lane implementation. The new one is a full, all 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. Both
no
were
Type
for.
A.
Oh,
No
one other
Type
thing though.
A.
No Type A. Yeah, that's the
No
one thing.
Type A.
The lack of Type A is really sucks. One thing I do want to add, though, as we talk about the performance of this, is it's like, and I'm a little paranoid sometimes, it's like because vendors push out new BIOSes, right? So you get the first BIOS and it's just screaming fast. They get complaints from customers, new BIOS cranks the clocks back, cranks the fans back, and it gets a little bit slower. I reran some of the benchmarks on this one. Some things were slower. I couldn't figure it out, like Cinebench. But on our Handbrake test, which is a really long multi-threaded load, it was like 10 seconds away from when I originally reviewed it like 3 months ago on the original XPS Kaby Lake R. This new one, again, same performance in Handbrake because, the boost speeds don't help it. So it's a little bit faster.
So we have a random side question from Dragon Kurt on Twitch. He's saying, why do older laptops keep the same name as desktops but don't have the same core count?
Oh, you mean
naming is all over the place.
Oh, you mean for the laptop models or the CPU
the
models?
Yeah.
It's all in branding, right? So XPS 13, like I call this, like I've seen so many XPS 13s, I've started putting years to them, but it doesn't really even apply. It's just like at some point, like this for people who don't know, this is not a MacBook. This is an HP X360 13. I love this thing. It's awesome. It's basically the same name all the time because consumers go, oh, hey, you have an XPS 13 or you have a Spectre X360. I want one of those too. They go to the store, they go to the website, and they buy that. A lot of laptop buyers are not as sophisticated enough to go like, oh, this. They don't really necessarily know like what CPU or what GPU or what else is in there. They just go, oh, 7th gen or 8th gen and XPS 13 or X360 or Acer or Lenovo. They just they go by. I mean, honestly, most of them are just not that sophisticated. So they mostly buy. That's why this thing is gold, right? Because people buy the color.
I think it's smart too because I think it is smart, like from a branding standpoint, to say, "Hey, man, I want a Dell XPS 13." Because a lot of laptops that aren't the higher end ones are named like QV4103VM.
ROG Zephyrus GX 13.
Well, ROG Zephyrus is ROG Zephyrus. I got that.
Yeah, true.
But
but it's a ROG Zephyrus GX 501. I think.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
I don't remember what it is, but it's
something like that.
But I think it's smart to have that core name attached to things, and I'm glad that the XPS 13 has kept that up. I wish they had, like the Zephyrus, a little bit at the end, like a numerical designator, so you could tell when you're buying used which one is which.
Yeah, and there is actually a model number to it. I think this is a 9570. This is a 9560, but you rarely see that anywhere in reference to it.
Yeah,
so.
I had no idea.
Well, even I like, oh, yeah, I guess there is a model number, but I rarely mention it. Maybe I should start mentioning that. But I think most people just go XPS 13, give me what's new. So,
And I'm sorry, I forgot what's the die size on inside the new chip?
Oh, you mean the
process?
Kaby Lake Arts?
Yeah,
they're 14 nanometer parts.
Oh, okay.
It's really funny because I was just thinking like, gosh, because Skylake, Kaby Lake, Skylake, Kaby Lake, and Coffee or Kaby Lake are basically the same thing, right? So,
well, we have
now there's just more cores.
Yeah, we have Chris Cotton over on Facebook says, for once in history, I believe AMD will be ahead of Intel on the process node with 7 nanometer this time next year, and Intel will just be releasing their 10 nanometer parts. What do you guys think about
that? The issue you want to talk about, or I can. There's
a lot. There's a lot of branding involved to nanometers. They're not actual physical measurements these days. You can't directly compare
Right.
Intel's 10 nanometer to Global Foundries 7 nanometer. It's not that clear of a distinction necessarily.
Yeah, it's basically what's happened is tech companies have figured out that people buy. I mean, some nerds will go like, "Oh my God, I want the 7 nanometer part. I don't want 10 nanometer part, right?" Because you go, it's a marketing thing, right? It's like megahertz. I want the 5 megahertz chip. I don't want this 4 megahertz chip. But the issue is, they don't measure them at the same spot. So when you know 5 megahertz, you know it's 5 megahertz. That's just the clock speed. But what if they're giving you the clock speed of a different PLL inside the chip that runs at a higher speed? So in fact, Intel's been making, I mean, honestly, who knows? Maybe Intel's just like angry because they're behind. You could make that argument, but they've been saying, look, we've looked at competing, fab processes, Samsung is what they would say, and our 14 nanometer is pretty close to what they're claiming is whatever their 10 nanometer or something, right?
Yeah, 10 or 12 or something like that.
And they actually proposed. They got Martin Bohr out, and they're proposing that we were proposing to the industry that we go off of transistors per square millimeter or something like that. So that's actually a determination of really how small things is. When we talk about nanometers, we're talking about how small it is. So if you can actually pack more transistors into a die, then maybe that's something we should use. Of course, I'm sure that would be an advantage to Intel because they're probably ahead. Otherwise, why would they come out and propose this, right? So I don't think buying on nanometer really is correct. Although I got to say, I bought my Pixel 2 XL because it's the new process. I didn't want the old one.
John Phillips on YouTube says 10 nanometer is garbage. He wants 1 nanometer.
Yeah, 1 nanometer.
Yeah, it's better. It's
Really?
just better.
And it better be bitchin' fast and in 3D.
And cooler.
I wish we could get that card.
More power efficient.
Yeah, so it's great stuff. I got to say, not everybody's into into laptop CPUs. I think it's a great exercise. These things are awesome. But again, you're looking at gaming laptops, you're very much seeing the same thing. The laptops with better cooling are going to have higher performance for graphics cards and better performance for CPUs. So it's and I do think one of the real big problems is you go out and you go like, oh, I want a Core i7 because it's better than a Core i5. And it turns out the Core i5 is actually faster in a lot of things than the Core i7. So, and this is the same manufacturer. I can't imagine like you're comparing a Core i7 from company A to Core i5 from company B. It's going to be really messy, I think. So
that makes me intrigued for when these start hitting 6, 7, 8 pound gaming laptops with their hardcore cooling things. See how far they can go.
Yeah, I gotta say. With Kaby Lake G stuff, which they showed off at CES, that's gonna be really important. The cooling's gonna really matter, So we're gonna see, right? I mean, that matters to that. What we know in desktop, it always matters, but for the most part, we have infinite cooling in desktop, so it doesn't bug us. But laptops can make a big difference. We are ready to move on to the next topic. You ready to chunk over?
Yeah, let's do it.
Which, of course,
official.
we saved this for last because this is all the high energy stuff.
Oh yeah, the future of graphics.
Well, although I think we should roll 2 things in this. Can we do that? I think we have enough time. So Brad wants. I want Brad to talk about it because honestly, I don't know enough about DXR. But the elephant in the room is like GTC, right? NVIDIA GTC yesterday. It was like, how was everybody's reaction to that? What? As a consumer,
the entire thing,
and it was
I didn't
awesome.
Wind up writing anything about it.
It was almost as disappointing as watching an episode of The Full Nerd. It's like, I want new hardware. Where's my hardware, Jensen?
It was hurting because they kept saying the more that you buy, the more that you save. With all their new, that was the tagline Jensen kept doing. And it's like, I want to buy, please, I want to buy a graphics.
Wait, that was their whole pitch?
Yeah, they said that probably a good dozen times where, you can buy this. You'd think you would charge you X amount, but it's only $400,000 if you buy 2 of them or whatever, because they're talking about the big crazy server things and stuff.
Right, all the AI, deep learning, machine learning stuff, and nothing that applies. Was there anything out of, for people to know, NVIDIA's GTC, which is the graphics technology conference.
Technology.
Used to be, of course, InVision. 10 years. Amazing.
Don't worry. Everyone in chat saying that was boring. Wasted time.
You know, I got to say,
I had to help cover that and the Apple event yesterday, and both of them, I'm done with the day. I expected to go in there sweating, being busy, just pounding keys all day. And I'm just like, I guess those happened.
But, I mean, at least you got something to talk about out of GTC, though, because that iPad was just, whew. Yeah, thanks, Apple. That's what we need. That's really going to win over that Chromebook audience now.
So, yeah, the actual more interesting thing happened a week ago beforehand at GDC, the Game Developer Conference, where Microsoft announced that it's adding real-time ray tracing capabilities into DirectX 12. So it can get really complicated and really technical really fast. I kind of did a high-level write-up on PC World. I recommend you go checking that out. Or if you want to get really technical, go check out the white papers on the DirectX blog.
And I'll post the link in chat.
Okay, great. In general, ray tracing in real time, i.e. in games, has been the holy grail for graphics forever. It basically mimics virtual light in the real world. Like, it actually treats light how light is treated. When you see movies that look so gorgeous, when you're looking at, the Avengers or whatever, and you're like, wow, that's lifelike. That's because they used ray tracing as opposed to games, which use rasterization technology, is called. The problem is ray tracing is incredibly computationally expensive. It's very, very, very slow. Like, it would melt computers if you tried to do it in real time in games. But apparently, between DirectX 12 being closer to the metal these days and graphics cards becoming so much more powerful and so much more efficient, so they can use that more power to do more things now, it's apparently getting closer to reality. So yeah, DirectX ray tracing is coming to DirectX 12, and to basically bring more lifelike shadows, reflections, stuff like that.
So is that going to be a component of DX12, or will it be a newer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of DX12. The Holy Grail is all real-time ray tracing. NVIDIA put out a really interesting video this week with, I believe, Epic Unreal, of a little Star Wars, little clip of Star Wars people acting out, making jokes, whatnot, and it looked drop dead gorgeous. But that scene, they had I think 4 or 5 Titan Vs to create that scene in real time.
But it was in real time, though.
It was in real time. Yep, and they were showing it off at GTC, actually, panning around it and everything to show it happening. But realistically, in the near future, they expect some forms of ray tracing to be used. Like in DXR, they expect it to be, like I said, used for shadows, used for reflections. But otherwise, the rest of the game is still made with rasterization, which is what's been used in games forever. It basically translates the 3D points to 2D points on your screen and then applies shading and color to it. So this is kind of like an extra little bit of sizzle to add that is hopefully a step into the future of ray tracing.
So most of them, like Toy Story is, of course, what people used to talk about. That's all ray trace as well, or no?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
What, Toy Story?
Yeah, about the ray tracing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm going to bring up something John Petty Research, who is probably one of the preeminent graphics analysts out there, and they track all this stuff. He's basically predicting that you're going to have real-time ray tracing on PCs in less than 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
NVIDIA actually says NVIDIA is rolling out new technology to support this, by the way. NVIDIA into Volta graphics cards, of which there are no consumer versions available. That's what we're hoping to see at GTC. Have RTX technology, it's called. Ray Tracing X is built. It's a mixture of hardware and software built right into the Volta GPU architecture, which NVIDIA says you're going to need this in order to run DirectX ray tracing realistically. I mean, any DirectX 12 hardware can run it. Realistically, it's not going to be powerful enough. You need this. And they said they expect to see games with some form of ray tracing in some basic way as early as this year.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so that's the entire. It won't be the entire scene that's ray traced. It'll just be some of it to sort of
The shadows or the fire or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this year. And of course, what hardware is that going to happen? We're talking consumer hardware, maybe? Is that what they said?
They just said on Volta hardware.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean, but they're talking about it appearing in games this year. So hopefully they release graphics cards this year.
God, how would you like to be the NVIDIA? Did you know this at NVIDIA? People don't know this. They have like a Maytag wash your repair guy. The guy who doesn't do those commercials anymore.
Uh-huh.
He's just sitting in a warehouse somewhere at NVIDIA, like reading the paper. And he's like, can we roll these damn Voltas yet to consumers? Like, no. Just kind of like waiting. I'm waiting for that call to unleash these brand new cards. He's just...
The interesting point to me about all this is I talked to NVIDIA, I talked to Microsoft, I talked to AMD about it, and nobody would really give firm performance expectations on it.
Oh.
So NVIDIA said, I forget what the dude said, word for word, but he said basically, yeah, we might be surprised. Current existing cards might run with ray tracing well once we're, using it in games and it's optimized, but we expect it to need this RTX technology, voltage use, etc. But Microsoft describes it as fundamentally GPU compute-like technology. So I asked AMD, hey man, Radeon cards excel at compute. That's why all the miners want them. Do you think that the special sauce you guys bake into Radeon hardware will help with, DirectX ray tracing? And they're like, remains to be seen. We don't want to talk about anything. Nobody wants to talk about any performance expectations at this point. So,
That's...
but it's still intriguing that it's happening because it is something that's been discussed for a long time. And it still seems a bit like a future-facing technology, but the baby steps, the groundwork is being laid. That's a big deal.
Spectre is asking, will multi-core CPUs take the load of ray trace? Is that a way to go?
Yeah, that would be new.
No. It's all done in the GPU.
Yeah, and
there's a big paper that tells you why. You can look it up on the DirectX blog.
in fact, there's even one. It's like a basic benchmark that I still use. It's called POV-Ray. You can go download the benchmark right now and run it, render it out on your CPU, and it'll take one frame. Of course, the entire scene is ray traced. It might take a minute, 2 minutes. So that ain't going to happen at 60 frames a second at 4K. So not on a CPU anytime soon that I can think of.
Yikes.
But it's already getting baked into. They've already baked it into Unreal. They're baking it into Unity. EA's Frostbite is going to be including this. EA's Seed, basically their R&D advanced stuff section, put out a real beautiful video of a real-time ray trace thing that obviously had a crap ton of hardware thrown at it. Don't expect it now, but to show you a vision of what could be.
Is it real though? Because I got to say, as someone who's been watching this for a long time, it feels like every few years they bust out with the ray tracing demo and say we're getting closer, and it's been going on for like 18 years where it's like we're getting closer. It's like it ain't never happened yet. So it's just, but I mean the fact that it's there, right? That's a good sign.
I think at this point, like talking to these different companies, like I said, I talked to Microsoft, AMD, NVIDIA. They all said the dream of a fully real-time ray trace game, if it happens, is probably still 20 years out.
Oh.
So what this is getting the steps in place to put in, it's actually getting put in DirectX now. Graphics cards today are so much more titanically powerful than they were 5-10 years ago. And by using the technology where it makes sense for these shadows, for the fire effects, for the reflections, you can start working towards that future. We can start seeing benefits from that theoretically in the near future.
I mean, 2038 though, I can't imagine like 30, 40 years from now. Holy smokes, that's like.
Yeah, but that's like movie quality though.
It'd be like my kids will be playing it. And my kids will be playing it. They'll be like, the only way I'm ever going to see that is if they throw me in a cryogenic machine. It's just like not going to happen. Oh, that's a bummer.
Side note, Tiger Gong on Twitch is asking, when can we expect graphics cards with GDDR6?
I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the next generation of graphics cards, but who knows when we'll see that at this point.
Yeah.
They're selling the ones that are 2 years old, hand over fist. Nobody seems in a rush to launch new ones. So,
What about that whole that server card? What was that server card that they announced?
they called it. That was my favorite part of GTC, actually. At Jensen Huang or whatever, the CEO said, "This is the biggest, most powerful GPU on the planet." But it wasn't a GPU. It was a server rack filled with like 40 graphics cards. But he was calling the collective as a GPU.
Huh.
Well, I guess that's all GPUs are, though, right? Or collections of collections. And didn't it have like some insane amount of memory in the thing?
Yeah. I forget the details. I didn't pay attention.
32
to the
gigs or something like that of HBM2.
All the Titan V's now are getting upgraded. They originally came out with 16 gigabytes of HBM2. Now it's getting doubled.
Wow.
Yikes.
I don't know. That could be a good sign that maybe the yield on HBM2 has gotten so much better, or NVIDIA's just sucking up all the HBM2 so that
AMD can't use it. That's what I was thinking when I heard that too.
Yeah, hey, we want to double our order, but that's crazy. We would have to charge you so much and nobody else could get it. Well, that's not a problem. These are very expensive cards we're selling. Or you could sell to your other client that's selling those cards for a lot lower. We're selling these for a lot more. That actually brings up a segue to one thing I do want to bring up that we talk about. I hadn't heard about this, but there's like, so there's an update on Ada64 that came out yesterday, and I went through and I looked in the update notes, and of course I can't find them now, but there's another GTX 1060 that apparently has been in the works.
Another.
Yeah, there is another. Brad?
Cool. I don't think NVIDIA has ever mentioned it. Like you were saying, Gamers Nexus mentioned it, I think.
Yeah.
Earlier this year. It's for China or Asian internet cafes, basically, right? Gaming cafes. 5 gigabytes of memory.
What the hell's the point of that, though? I mean, so current 1060 is 6 gigs. The 3 gig is 3 gigs with fewer units, right?
That one's also cut down in performance.
Yeah, cut down in performance, cut down in RAM. But like, so so if you download Ada64 Engineer, the one that I downloaded, it says GPU details for NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 5 gig, as well as Quadro V100 and Titan V. So they're basically making a 5 gig card that will not be sold here. But what's the point? How much really are you going to save, I guess? Does that make any sense?
I have no idea. They haven't said anything about it. I have no idea anything about it. I wouldn't be surprised.
We should have just told. Go ahead.
With the GTX 1060 line, they're just like, yeah, sure, let's call this a GTX 1062 or whatever.
We should have just said,
sure, let's call that a GTX 1060.
Bro, we are announcing a brand new card, everybody. GeForce 1060 5 gig. You're like, what? This is a third one. Isn't it like a 2060 you could introduce? 1160 something? We're like it feels like, if you everybody see the new Mad Max?
Yes.
Where they're like the one person controls all the water, and then everybody down there just, with no teeth and just kind of wearing rags and everything, like water. And then once in a while, and the water comes out and they get enough to like fill a cup and then run away. It's like,
that's what it's like for graphics cards.
It is right. Well, it's right now for graphics cards.
ASRock's making graphics cards now, if we're doing asides. I just was writing that up before we came on here. ASRock got into graphics cards. They put a page up today. It's been, teased for a little bit, but it was put up today. All Radeon exclusive RX 550 through 580.
Were they branded as gaming cards?
Phantom Gaming.
Oh, okay.
Phantom
and that really,
Gaming.
so it's only AMD.
Yeah, only AMD.
Wow, interesting. Huh. Okay. Well, heck.
Another tidbit.
It's just so
throw
sad.
that in there.
Everybody's expecting new GPU news. And that's all we got.
We are getting news on all these 2-year-old graphics cards.
5 gig version, and ASRock is making Radeon cards now.
Yeah, well, ZR1 Gamer on YouTube says ASRock, good guys not signing up on GPP.
How do you know?
Oh.
Maybe there's an RPP now.
Who knows?
We don't know nothing. No new developments really on that GPP front, GeForce Partner Program. Except that people are saying that there are cards that are. I can't take us too far down the rabbit hole because we are rapidly running out of time. But
yes,
apparently some video cards are not being branded as Radeons are not being branded as gaming cards. So who knows? I mean, again, I do want to withhold judgment until we see a little more evidence of that. So we'll see. But
yep.
So real quick,
I've asked questions about it. People aren't very forthcoming, but these companies are never forthcoming about detailed business relationships with the suppliers anyway. Like if you go ask Sapphire, how many GPUs does AMD send you? They won't tell you. You're never going to hear that information. So it's not weird that people aren't talking about this.
Right. And I have actually asked a couple of people around and ain't no one saying anything. So who knows? You could take that as meaning silence is deafening, as they say, or it could just mean like, we don't talk about that stuff. That's money stuff. I don't know.
Yep.
So,
we
got any questions before we get out of here, Adam?
Yeah, let's. We've got like 2 minutes left, so everyone, ask your questions away in chat because we got a couple minutes. The first one, I don't know who it's coming in from because it was a bit ago, but are they saying are we going to get real time ray tracing before Half-Life 3?
Half-Life 3 will be ray traced. 2048.
That's the answer. I'm going with Gordon's.
2048.
That's what they're holding out. Real time. Half-Life 3 will be ray traced.
Yeah. In fact, I think if I understand it, they're basically building an AI team up at Valve so they can transfer their essence. They can continue to work on Half-Life 3 out to 2048.
Half-Life 2 Episode 3.
Yeah. Whatever.
There's a 5 gig version of Half-Life 2, I understand, though. 5 gig version of Half-Life 2.
So ZR1 Gamer on YouTube is asking, what are your expectations with Navi?
I don't expect it to come out this year based on their roadmaps.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Easy. That was an easy one.
Is that really named after the Cameron film?
No.
Oh, okay.
David on YouTube is asking, are 4K 144 hertz monitors finally coming?
I hope so. NVIDIA said they are coming in April. Our own sources have said they're coming in April. I hope they finally do. Those are G-Sync HDR panels. And that would be amazing. The thing is, there's still no graphics cards because we haven't seen new ones that can drive a 4K panel at 144 hertz. But it'll be nice to get them.
Why not just run SLI, Brad?
A question coming in from Gordon. Why don't you run SLI, Brad?
Yes, that's good.
Because I respect my hard-earned money.
Ryan Williams on YouTube's asking, is the RX 580 8 gig still a deal at MSRP if he can find it?
If you can find it at MSRP, buy it ASAP.
Still
yes.
Good. All right.
You won't find it at MSRP unless you have a buddy somewhere.
What is the MSRP on that? Is it 350?
240? 250?
Hell, I'd buy it for 250.
Damian Wilson on YouTube is asking, are the BFGDs still coming out this year? Answer no. Next.
Well, they said summer. We'll see.
So yeah, you guys still think?
Yeah, I think we'll actually see something out there, hopefully. I mean, it was pretty rough at CES, but I like the concept still. It's got a lot of development to go. Well, actually, if we apply the 144 4K HDR, should be out summer of 2019, right? That's
Boom.
Probably about
Perfect.
Yeah. It's hard. These G-Sync HDR monitors are like really pushing graphics monitor technology because they're like HDR, 1000 nits, quantum dots, 144 hertz, 4K, like all these crazy, every spec you can throw at it. So I'm not surprised they're seeing delays. I wouldn't be surprised if the BFGDs get delayed too, which are basically 60-inch TV-like gaming displays.
Nice.
Hope not, though.
ZR1 Gamer on YouTube's asking, thoughts on HBM APUs. Do you think they make sense?
No. Too expensive. Way too expensive. Well, KB Lake G is HBM2, right? That's not an APU though.
Nope. I like this. It's like rapid fire.
Yeah,
what do you think of this? Nope, too expensive. Next question.
Chris Robinson's asking, how is Brad's new monitor?
Brad's new monitor is getting set up as soon as this show is done.
Nice.
So I will
Yeah,
tell
that's-
you next time.
That's why we're ending it early. Brad's like, gotta set.
I'm
Do you
testing the Samsung CHG70. It's 1440, 144 hertz HDR FreeSync 2 monitor. The first time I've tested FreeSync 2 or HDR. So I'm really excited to see if it's as impressive in my office as it has been at CES and other trade shows.
You're gonna run a Vega 64 with that? I guess.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I might try a couple different cards.
So WTF Shelley is asking, is there a bigger R7 APU coming out?
Doubt it. Because they only have so much die space. So
Yeah. And again, it comes down to why, if you're buying a Ryzen 7, you're going to go discrete most likely. So maybe not. I don't think it makes sense. Who knows?
All right. And last one from Elvis, good old Elvis, saying, does the Dyson still suck?
Apparently only if they send it to you as a sponsored video, it doesn't suck.
So actually, I did. This is totally unrelated to what's going on out there. I did buy a Dyson, not the one that everyone was talking about, but the V7, and yes, it does suck.
How is it though?
But in a good way. So I realized when we were talking about this a couple weeks ago on the game stream or whatever, I have all hardwood floors.
Oh.
So yeah, since I got hardwood floors and it's like a big studio, like it's great for that.
How
It's
many
fun.
cats do you have?
Just one right now.
See, you don't even know. Where their torture test should be like cat lady with shag carpet. Like that would be like oh my god, that would like kill everything. There is no way it would handle that.
now that is a video I would watch though.
You know
Crazy
the
cat
perfect
lady
one?
getting-
Josh Norm, who I used to work with at a previous publication, he's now over at IGN. But that's like he was cat lady guy because he just helped rescue cats. But he would come in and it would look like he looked like Chewbacca in the morning. There'd be cat hair everywhere, and he would send pictures of his computer, and it would just look like. It looks like the inside of your vacuum cleaner full of cat hair. It's his computer because it would just like vacuum everything into it. Yeah, he should get the Dyson. They should send the Dyson to him.
There you go. Nice.
See if it works.
All right, let's wrap it up.
We're done? Okay,
wrap
hey,
it
look at that.
up.
Go.
Yeah, an hour.
Incredible.
Boom, we
Yes,
did
you
it.
could set your clock by. We are going to make it short enough so you can set your clock by it.
Well,
The
it
time
did-
is-
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah. Well, and it did help that our guest Mona, she didn't have much to say. She
all
was
secret.
Yeah, it was all the secret.
She
to her,
knows
so.
about everything. Zen Plus, upcoming Intel CPUs, Core i11.
I mean, she could have
Don't even
told
know about
told us everything, but she chose not to. So
She has an NDA.
yeah,
She knows all about GPP.
yeah, right?
Everything. Knows the full secret. Area 51,
Ah,
Kennedy, everything.
dang it!
Knows all of that.
Dang it.
Locked up in her little head. All right. So check back in 2 weeks for your fix of PC Talk on the Full Nerd for audio listeners. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave a review. If you do, I will absolutely not send you all the extra free CPUs I have. Repeat, will not send you free CPUs if you... I'm just kidding. Please do review us on iTunes. You can also listen to us on Google Play and Stitcher. If you want to send us old-fashioned email or a fax, I guess, send it to thefullnerd@pcworld.com. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Maung with Brad Charkis.
Adios.
And Adam Patrick Murray will take us out.
Thanks, everyone. Don't suck.